Good afternoon everyone and welcome to episode 8 of the M Word. My name is Robin, Technical Director at Man & Machine here in the UK, and it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Although a little bit chilly in this room compared to outside, which is nice and sunny today, which is good. So I'll keep the intro short and sweet today because we've got a fair bit to cover with Autodesk Vault 2023 and looking at the new features. Bit of a dry subject, Vault, but I'll try and jazz it up a little bit with my terrible sense of humour. But it's a necessity when it comes to managing your data, controlling your revisions, and there's actually some nice features this year which are really useful. So we'll share those with you. For those of you that are coming back and watching us not for the first time, then welcome back. It's great to see you again. For those of you that are new, this is kind of like a virtual coffee break that we do. Cheers! Every week, where we talk for half an hour or so about what's new. News, tips and tricks and hot topics in the world of computer-aided design, Autodesk technology and the like. Welcome aboard if you are joining us for the first time, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell to turn on your notifications so we can see when we're live. And we've got a whole load of videos on our channel, demonstrations, tips and tricks, how-to tutorials, even some basic training on products like Inventor, Fusion, and Revit as well. So check those videos out, and we're uploading new content weekly. So give us a subscribe, and obviously give us your feedback. So drop us a comment if there's something you want to see in a future M Word episode, or if you've just got some feedback, just give us a comment. We're more than happy to see your interactions. So as I say, today we're going to look at Vault 2023, and we're going to jump straight in and have a look at the new features. And then depending on the time that we've got at the end, we might jump into one of the AEC applications as well. So let's just shrink myself into the corner, there we go, and share my screen. Oh, it's nice to be back in this room this week. Did it at home last week and didn't have all of the automation, so I had to mess around with the mouse over multiple screens to get my macros running. But nice to be back in the office today in our recording studio. So what we're going to do is open up Vault. Now I'm running Vault Professional. Some of these features are Vault Pro only. Some of them are spread across all of the releases, but I'm going to focus on Vault Pro because that's what I've got installed. And the first thing you'll notice as soon as you open 2023 is at last we have a UI update to Autodesk Vault. It looks a lot cleaner. It certainly looks a lot more modern. And I really like it. It fits in with the kind of look and feel of Inventor nowadays and the more modern user interfaces inside of both Windows 10 and Windows 11. On the subject of Windows 11, it's now a supported operating system with 2023, and that includes, if you're a Vault Basic user, it's also supported for your Autodesk Data Management Server Console as well. Whilst we're on the subject of user interface, you'll be very pleased to learn that we also now have a dark mode inside of Vault to match the likes of Inventor. So if you come up to Tools and head into your options, you'll notice that we have a theme drop down. So I'm going to do it now for the purpose of this. It just takes a couple of seconds to change for the first time. but you can see that we have a dark mode now available to us, so that we're not staring at a really bright white screen all day long. I really like that. I think it's great. It's kind of pretty normal now. You've got it on your phone, you've got it in your other applications, so it's nice to see that modernization. Whilst we're inside this area, something else that's new that I think's overdue is the understanding that people need to work with Inventor read-only mode. Inventor read-only mode is something that came out a couple of years back, and when you install Inventor, you get the ability to run Inventor in consumer license, or you can run it as a read-only mode, which gives you no editing capability and doesn't consume a license. Inside of Vault now, we have the ability to control how we want to view Inventor files by default. You'll notice that the default option for Vault 23 is to use Inventor read-only mode. We have a new option under there, which is always use Inventor read-only mode. So if you're only ever going to use that non-licensed version of Inventor, then you can put that on always use read-only mode, and it won't ever consume a license for Inventor, which from my perspective, that's great. I prefer it to Inventor View. Inventor View's maybe a bit dated now. I always like to be into Inventor, so the fact that we can use that read-only mode for me is really, really nice. The other thing that we can do that's option specific is the changes with regards to the enforcement of your design file check-in. So for a long time now, if we go to Tools, Administration and Vault Settings, and when I say for a long time, I mean forever, you've got the restriction of where you can check in design data from. So historically, you would either say, I enforce it or I don't. And if it was enforced, it would mean no design file would be able to be brought into Vault for a drag and drop or by a manual file add through the Vault client. You'd have to use Autocad or Inventor or whatever it might be, unless you turn it off. What we can do now is control that by file type. So we've got a new box here which says file type restriction. And if we go in there, you can see a whole load of different file formats that are available, and I can choose which ones I do versus which ones I don't want to control. So, for example, if I was quite happy to allow someone to check in Inventor part files with a drag and drop, but I didn't want them to check in Inventor assembly files with a drag and drop, I could allow that in here. If it's down to me, I'd say you shouldn't be doing that anyway. You want to focus on using the design tools inside of Inventor and Vault to check those files in properly. But certainly when you're adding data, when you're adding third-party data, this can be a lifesaver, especially if you've got a lot of data you want to get in there. So check it out, new for 2023, works really well, and there's a nice search file on there as well, so we can come in and start searching for specific file extensions if we want to. I'm going to take a step back for a second from the client, because for me, the single biggest feature inside of Vault 2023 Professional is the ability to use Autodesk Vault remotely without needing to have a VPN connection. And this is so easy to set up. It's really, really good that they've implemented this. It feels like, I'm Dobby the house elf that's been given a sock by his master. This is a really exciting bit of functionality that is now existing inside of Vault. So if you were working remotely previously, you would have to connect to a virtual private network, VPN, to connect into your office infrastructure to be able to communicate with Vault. With 2023, terrible English. With 2023 Professional, that is no longer a requirement. It uses the Forge technology, and it works really, really well. Maybe there's a bit of a performance here, as you would expect, because you're not going direct to the Vault server, it's going via a secure gateway. But nonetheless, it works so well. So just to show you how this is set up, there's a separate video on our YouTube channel. So again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos, because there's a load on there on really useful stuff like this. Come up to Tools, come down to Manage Vault Gateway. I have one set up at the moment, so it's just going to show me that it's up and running. But what we have here is the ability to configure and set up a Vault gateway. Okay, I'm not going to go through the configuration today. Check out our channel for another video that goes through that in detail. But the key is here, this host name. Okay, that host name becomes my remote access point for Vault. What that means is I have going via the Forge servers, so the Autodesk Forge platform. The Forge servers in Europe are based in Dublin. So I have a gateway there whereby I can log into this Vault via this gateway. Okay. The process is really straightforward to do that. It's just a case of when you're logging into your Autodesk Vault, if I just log out of here, when you log in, you type in a HTTPS, a secure TCP IP address into this server box here with that Vault gateway address. Okay, I'm not going to do it now because I don't need to. I'm running my server and my client off my laptop for the purpose of this demonstration. But what that will do is it will allow you to connect directly. It works really well. Again, a bit of a performance hit as you would expect because it's going via the gateway. But the fact that you don't need that VPN, really good. So thank you to the Vault developers for getting this in there. And let's hope, keep fingers crossed, that this eventually sees its way into some of the other paid for versions of Vault. Vault Pro only at the moment. So let's close down the ADMS, don't need anything else in there for today, and focus on client-related functionality. So the first thing I'm going to do is jump into AutoCAD, actually, believe it or not. The AutoCAD interface has had a tiny little adjustment or improvement to it, maybe to bring it in line with the Inventor and other functionality that's we've had for Vault for a long time. So let's just jump into AutoCAD 23. And inside of AutoCAD 23, I'm just going to create a new drawing. Give it a couple of seconds to load up. Just the standard template will be fine. I'm going to put down some really simple geometry here. Doesn't really matter too much for the purpose of this. So let's just place a nice circle at 0, 0, and I want a 250 size on that circle. Let's just say that I'm going to save this file away. I'm going to save this naturally into my Vault workspace. So designs, let's have a folder here called AutoCAD 2023. And then in there, I'm just going to save this as drawing 1. Hit save. Wait for it to think about things. Log into Vault through my AutoCAD interface. And I'm just going to check this file straight in. So within the XREF tool palette, we have the ability to start looking at the details of a vaulted file. So I'm just going to check this in and check it straight back out again. Hit OK. Wait for this to go and do its thing. As you would expect, it's AutoCAD, so it always goes through that close and reopen whenever I do a check-in. But if I open my XREF properties palette, it's not scaled particularly well on my screen there, so let me pull it across. Please let me pull it across. Please let me pull it across. Demo ghost number 1. Thank you very much. There we go. So if I right click over here, you can see that we now got show details, much like what we have inside of Inventor now. So we've got some more options on this right click menu. If I go to show details, I can see the Vault details exactly as they appear inside of the Vault client, but through my AutoCAD interface. So I can see the file, its uses, where it's used. So if you started to get a DWG with a load of XREFs that sit within Vault, I can start driving them and using them through here, which is really beneficial. So that's one nice new feature, some changes with regards to the AutoCAD interface, again, just to leverage that a little bit more. The next thing that we have is a lifecycle status indicator. Again, I really like this. So if we go to Tools, Administration and Vault Settings, go across to Behaviors, and under Behaviors, I'm just going to come down to my lifecycles. Every lifecycle now, if I just choose this flexible release process here and have a look at the edit for the purpose of this, you can see that we have a color for every single lifecycle state. That's customizable. If you've got admin permissions, we can come in here and customize that, no problems at all. And that color will allow us just to color code what state or lifecycle status that the file has at any point in time. Once that's configured, and I haven't changed any of this in 2023, it's just how 2023 installs. we just have to turn on the state glyph field, which just right click and say that you want to customize your view. Go to fields, go and find any or files, whichever one it might be. Scroll down to S and you'll find Vault status, sorry, not Vault status, state glyph. Move it to where you want to, and then that will start appearing when files have a state. Whilst we're talking about that customized view, that's something else that's changed inside of Vault 23 is the flexibility of controlling what fields you can see at any time. So if I now go into a great deal of the dialog boxes, I haven't checked all of them, but all the ones that I have checked, change category, revise, change state, we can now just do a right click and customize view. A bit overdue if you ask me, fairly simple, but we can now come in and add additional fields into here should I want to. So I can come in and grab, for example, that state glyph and add it to the top of that dialog box. Okay, meaning it will now show. Although I can't move it, which is a bit of a pain. Hey ho, that will now show. Should I have a state glyph in there, that will update as necessary. And that's across a load of the different dialog boxes now as well, which is nice. Let's go into Inventor, and I'm just going to put together a really crude assembly. So let's start a new IAM. Give it a couple of seconds to think about its life, as I've not opened it this afternoon yet. So I'll take an excuse for get a little swig of coffee. And let's just create a couple of really simple parts in here. So we're going to have box part using standard IPT. I'm going to save this into Inventor 2023 folder. And I'm just going to create a very simple box. You know how much I like to keep this simple for these sessions, warts and all, demo ghosts and all for most of the time, but we'll keep this nice and simple and create a new sketch. And we'll create a very simple box part using a 2-point center rectangle. We'll pull that out and I will just give it a 50 by 50 by 50 extrusion, like so. So with this file, I'm just going to save it, return, and I'm going to create a few different instances of that box part. I'm going to create another new part here, and I'm going to say this is cylinder part. Make sure it's going to the folder that I want it to, which is going to be in there. Thank you. And hit OK. And we're just going to do exactly the same thing here with a simple cylinder. Again, for the purpose of today, it really doesn't matter on the actual size of what we're doing or the actual component itself. You'll generally get the idea of what's going on. Now, for a couple of releases in Inventor, if we just save this away, we've had the ability, assembly 1 is fine, we've had the ability to use instance parameters inside of the Inventor interface. And these are really nice because, as we know, against any part in Inventor, we have iProperties. And those iProperties can be synchronized into Vault. Vault can understand them. You can push them to an item, push them onto a bomb, so on and so forth. But actually, for a couple of years in Inventor, we've had instance properties. So although these components are exactly the same physical part, I can actually control them with a different instance property. And the way we do that with Inventor is we right-click the instance, either in the browser or in the modeling space, and we give it an instance property. So we're going to say that this box, we're going to say the M word is the name of the property, and the value is going to be is great, typically. Press add, and we've got the M word is great. Press apply, press close. Do the same thing on the second one here, instance properties. Go and add the M word again. Is okay. Add, press apply, press close. And the third one, right click, instance properties. I'm just going to add the same one to these three. Better than Dobby the Elf. That's the second Harry Potter reference today. Went to Harry Potter World the other week. Really good fun. Recommend it. So hit apply, hit close. So we've got those three boxes. Same part, but they have different instances. Okay, we can see the instances have been added there. I'm going to do the same one on one of these. So this one here is the M word, and I'm just going to put today's date in there. So let's say we're on the 14th of the 4th, 2022. Add. Apply. I'm going to save those files, and I'm going to push them into Vault. I'm not going to bother with the drawing or anything like that. So let's just check them into my Inventor 2023 folder. Let's give these some comments. I'm always terrible at my comments, so let's just add some basic comments in there and push them into Vault. Now, from a Vault perspective, I need to tell Vault that that property exists and that I'm going to want to go and do something with it, because Vault now understands those instant properties when it comes to your items in Vault Pro and your bill of materials. So I'm going to go into my Vault settings over here. I'm going to go to my behaviors tab. I'm going to go down to my properties, and I'm going to configure a new property map. I'm doing this from scratch in this purposely, just so you can see the process. The M word is what I called the property in Inventor, and it was text. I need to associate this with a bill of materials row, because I want it to show on my BOM inside of my item. And then I'm going to go to my mapping. I'm going to click in here to define a mapping from Inventor documents, and I'm going to say import from the Vault, and just go and pick that assembly that I've just checked in. So designs, Inventor 23, and I'm going to go and pick in my assembly, which is where those instance parameters are. Remember, they're not against the actual part, they're in the assembly, because that's where an instance is defined. So let's choose my assembly, sort these by name, and I should now be able to scroll and find the M word. Okay, and it's a file to Vault single direction property. Don't create it if it doesn't exist. Perfect. If I close those and just show you that under my items tab in my properties, I have my items configured in that my BOM rows here, I've got that I want to turn on all rows by default. I have a tick next to group BOM rows as per the design BOM. So they work like the Inventor BOM basically. And with that done, if I go and find that Inventor, and actually I can see that maybe one of my colleagues has been jumped on with the, where are we? No, that's a long time ago. That's just me not cleaning out my Vault. Ignore me. I thought someone had done something clever on the Vault gateway, but they haven't. So let's go into Vault. Here's that lifecycle glyph that I mentioned earlier. It's now green because it's work in progress. Let's take this file and let's push it to an item. So grab the assembly, assign an item. For those of you that are new to items, they only come in Vault Pro. They allow you to control the bill of materials inside of Vault, which is really powerful for linking to ERP and things like that. And they will recognize the fact that this is a physical thing. You know, it's not just a file, it's a physical component that we can see and touch and work with. Because of that, if I go to my BOM, inside of that, you can see that I've got my assembly, the 3 box parts and the 2 cylinder parts. If I right click and customize the view, we can now in 2023 go and find the field for the M word, add it. Maybe we're going to move it up to, where are we, just after revision, just here. Hit OK, hit close, and we can see those instance properties are now understood and recognized inside of Vault, and you can use them on your BOMs, which again is really, really beneficial. I'm not going to save that. You've seen it. It works well. Let's just close it down without saving. As these icons are on our screen, let's just push this through a lifecycle change. So change state. Hooray! We've had a crash. Not much I can say about that. Demo ghosts. That's all I'm going to say. Demo ghosts. I know there's going to be 3 individuals that are laughing hard right now. Give it a couple of seconds, and it will come back to life. We'll just check our task manager. Did it? Yeah, it did crash. I was about to ask myself, did it crash? But it definitely crashed. Let's come into Vault 23. I'll tell you what I haven't checked today. If there's an early patch. I don't think there's. Patch out for Vault already, but let's just log back in, give it a couple of seconds, and there we go. We should try that process again. So designs, Inventor 23, and let's take these parts and change their state. And we're going to push them up for review. Okay, change to orange, bump them up again, change the state to released. They change to blue or purple, whatever way you've got it configured. Works really well. I like that a lot. Whilst we're in that process, let's just bump them back to work in progress. So I'm going to show this tool. I really like this in Vault. If we go to actions, we've got rollback lifecycle state change, so I can go back in time. So I can push those back to for review, and I can push it back again to work in progress. If you didn't know that, that's a lifesaver if you've actually made a mistake. So with those in work in progress, I forgot to show the other huge change in Vault 23, which is the viewer. Let me just open this in the bigger screen by saying view. So against this designed Inventor 23 assembly1.iam file, I've now got a much more modern viewer. This is using the Forge viewer, which is the same as the web client now uses since last year. It works so much nicer than the old classic Vault one, in my opinion. You can still change it back if you want to. You can tell it to use design review rather than this. But the functionality we've got in here, standard, zoom, extents, orbit, pan, so on and so forth. The right-hand side slide, left-hand side. The left-hand side slider is your the version that you're looking at. We can go into first-person mode if this is a large assembly to get an idea of scale. We can change the camera and look at focal length and stuff like that. But where this really comes into its own is these next four. So a quick explode, we can very quickly explode this model out. There's no rhyme nor reason to it. It just takes everything and pushes it out. So for large assemblies, that's just quite nice to get an appreciation of where things are and how it comes together. We can place sections really quickly. So let's add a Y-plane vertical section, which we can pull up and down and rotate around should we really want to. Looks really nice. I like that a lot. We can also measure points to points nice and quickly and accurately, no problems at all. We can keep going as much as we want to on there. Okay. Once we're done, we can also come in here and look at markups and the document browser. If you open the document browser, it will start showing you linked files and relationships, but I actually want to show the markups. We've had markup ability in a long time in Vault Pro with ECO when you're running engineering change control or change order. But in here, we can now do it on Vault in general, not just within an ECO. And this new markup ability works inside of those legacy workflows as well. So against a file, I can start creating a markup. And instantly, you can see where this is going. So I can say that I want to put a point cloud on here, point cloud, revision cloud. I'm going to put a revision cloud around there. Maybe change the color to purple. Why not? Maybe change the fill style to white. Why not? We've got an opacity here, so we can change how transparent that is or not. We can add maybe a nice arrow here, and then we can add some text. My mouse keeps disappearing, which is a little bit frustrating. Caps lock's on. So we can add some text. Again, we've got control over the color of the text, the size of the text, the outline style if we want it, so on and so forth. The only thing you can't do in here, and this is a note to the developers, please change this. I know this is taking a snapshot, so it's just an image, but we lose the ability to control anything in here. For me, that's a bit of a pain. I understand why it's doing it, because it's still in a point in time snapshot, but panning especially and zooming is a bit of a pain. So great start, like it a lot, much better than what we had before. And when we add these, we choose to save. We can either save it as a screenshot. If we save it as a screenshot, it's just saying, well, there it is. This is nice. Hit save. And that'll save away onto my desktop. Or we can say save as data. If we save it as data, we can say, give it a name, and it puts it in this panel on the left-hand side. Any user that logs into Vault that has permission to do so can now see my markup, much like I can also see their markups against these files, which if you think of that without even looking at ECO, if you think of that just as part of your normal release process, actually makes it viable, and it means that you can trace all of those comments, the commentary, the feedback live through the process in Vault, which is really, really nice, and about time actually. So thank you for implementing that. I like it a lot. Let's hit done and just come out of that view on there as well. So what have we got? Let me just see what else there is. If you want to recap on any of these, just go to help, about, or help and help, and then on the page that pops up, you've got new in Vault. I'm just going to open this on my second screen just to see what we've got. So we've got the Autocad added enhancements. We've seen those, really nice. Instant properties recognized by Vault and work in the item bombs, great. The user interface enhancements, light mode, dark mode, and you can switch it back to classic should you really want to. I'm a big fan of the new modern look and feel. About time, we've got a new markup functionality and a new viewer. Works nicely, that's really good. Additional administration enhancements, as we've seen, the ability to color the lifecycle states, the ability to limit the file type restrictions, that's really, really useful. Vault Gateway is a game changer, only in Vault Pro right now. Let's hope that it comes in the other versions as well. And then the view customization, the using Inventor read-only rather than always pushing a license or using Inventor view. Really nice to see those as well. Saved search is a bit of an enhancement. It's not a huge change, but when you save a search inside of 2023, you can basically do some instant renaming somehow in here. I think it's manage save searches. I don't know. I haven't checked that out, but there's a couple more on there. Check them out under the help file. They seem to work really, really nicely. So just to finish this off, what I'm going to do is, for those of you that missed it last year, the thin client was updated dramatically last year and the year before. So just to finish off, I'm going to just show you that in Vault Pro, your thin client now completes the look and feel. It looks really, really nice. And if I go to the fat client, go into Inventor, and if we just release these two parts, but not the assembly, and I'm going to be really naughty and just push them straight to released because I can. We've got two parts that are released and an assembly that is not. If we go and have a look in the thin client, go to the designs, go to my Inventor folder, we can only see the released parts, which is what you'd expect inside of Vault client, Vault thin client, sorry. We can jump in there, see all the properties, see the history, see it's used or where it's used, its item, change order, and finally the view, which, as I said, is now exactly the same as what you have inside of, what file have I got there? I've got my job processor isn't running, so let's just update that view. Bear with me. Do I have permissions with this user? Probably not. Please hold. Lift music, insert here. I won't start singing. I won't put you through that. There we go. Go into, which one was it? Box part. Let's head into box part, go to the view, and you can see this now uses the Forge viewer, exactly the same as what we now have inside of Vault itself. So that's really nice for me. And yes, you have the markup functionality. Yes, you have the section functionality and everything else that you have in there. So really, this is starting to become a lot more streamlined, and it's starting to connect some of those disconnections that were there previously. And for Vault 2023, it's not a massive list this year, but there's some really nice ones, but that is it. It works really well. There's some nice tools in there. I particularly like the change in theme. The viewer changes is great. Vault Gateway for me is a game changer. So that makes the upgrade alone worthwhile if you're using Pro, to save you from having to use a VPN. But that aside, I'll end with a quick tip. Some of you may be wondering why this bar is bright red at the bottom. It's because I'm logged in as a Vault administrator. It's always generally a big no-no from a best practice perspective to sit using a Vault admin account day in, day out. So what you have inside of Vault, which you may or may not have seen before, is you've got the ability to enable administrator status bar color. We can then configure that and make it any color we want. So let's go with a nice Man of Machine orange. Hit OK. Close that down. If I log out and log back in again, that should now be a nice orange. It just highlights that, oh, hang on, I'm logged in with elevated permissions. Perhaps I shouldn't be. Try and keep your admin accounts separate, because otherwise they could cause you a few issues with doing things that you're not wanting to do. And actually what I can see is Alex has kindly jumped on via my gateway, and we can see that we have these comments on here that have been controlled via Vault Gateway as well. These are nicer. Yeah, I agree. The squares are nicer than the cylinders. Sorry, the cubes are nicer than the cylinders. I'm glad you didn't draw something else. So thank you for that. But yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to show you today. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Again, like us, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us some feedback, follow us on all the regular social media channels, and let us know what you want to see next time. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy Easter. Don't eat too many Easter eggs. Eat too many Easter eggs. Do whatever you want. It's an excuse that you can eat chocolate and get away with it. Yeah, thank you very much. Have fun, and I will see you next week, Thursday, 2 o'clock, and we will go through it all again. Thanks very much. Goodbye. Take care.